Welcome, welcome. Namaste. Thank you for being here. I'm excited for you that you came to your mat today. We're going to do a number of fun flows, and it should be some good warming. And that should feel good on this good summer day that we're having. And as we're moving into summer, you'll be doing this practice, hopefully, maybe even multiple times, who knows, on a warm day. And so one of the fun things that we're doing in today's practice is at the end, we're going to be doing a new pranayama technique, which is a cooling technique. And it's just really simple and repetitive and meditative. So it's kind of cooling for the body, but also calming for the mind. So the flows that we're doing, I want to just please remind you to always listen to your body and do the parts that work for you. Pause when you want, come back in. But specifically today, I'm offering some stuff that's kind of shoulder intensive, which means it's also probably wrist intensive. So if you've got anything going on right now that's kind of inflamed or irritated, when I'm offering flip dog, for example, I would encourage you to, either sit it out or just go to part way and not actually do the flip, but to really gauge that before you go there. Please, no injuries. One of the tools that would be great to have today, I always recommend kind of having them around, but I specifically like you to have a strap or scarf, something not stretchy, that we're going to be using in one of our shoulder stretches. So please have that handy if you would. And always a block and a bolster if you'd like one. I'm also inviting today in Shavasana in particular for you to consider as much of a relaxed supported pose as you can create. So whether it's putting something under your knees if you're on your back, or I'll be showing you with the bolster a wonderful recline that you can do with it under the back. You could instead take a rolled yoga mat and put it along the spine so that when you're laying down on the floor, instead of I don't know, sometimes I feel like if I just lay straight on the floor, it's kind of, and I can feel my shoulder blades or what have you. So this gives you a lovely supported opening along the spine that I really enjoy. So if you don't have a bolster, that would be a great option too. So we're going to begin actually laying on our front bodies. I'm going to stay seated initially so it's easier for you to hear me and my instructions and they're not so muffled. But when you are ready, please find a comfortable position on your belly, and you might turn your head to one side or the other, or if that's awkward for your body, you could kind of stack your hands and give your forehead a place to rest where there's still a little room for your nose, hopefully. Obviously, take your glasses off for now if you have them on. And we're going to be taking this time to really settle into breath awareness, to tune into the body. So if at any point you're uncomfortable in your body, please make a change. If you need to come to seated instead or lay on your back body, please do. Welcome to the mat. I'm so grateful you're here. Please close your eyes, turning the gaze up and in, third eye point, point of insight. And soften all the muscles of the jaw, the tongue. You might even end up with kind of a squished face, just letting gravity take your cheeks. How heavy can you get? Just letting gravity get stronger, do its job, connecting you deep and down into the earth. And in these moments, on the floor with our belly connecting, we can feel breath as it enters the belly and the belly presses against the floor a little bit. So I'm going to ask you to bring your awareness to feeling breath in the front body, in the abdomen, in the front of the lungs, into the rib cage area. It's like you're a treasure hunter, a clue follower. You're really following just the details, really, of the body, the subtle sensations. Noticing breath rising and settling into the abdomen, into the front lung space. And then, of course, how your body settles again with gravity. This is a really important thing to get good at, this settling, sinking, spreading, non-doing. If there's anything we'd like to perfect, it would be non-doing. And now please turn your attention to your back body. And as you breathe, see if you can feel the breath in the back, between the shoulder blades, into the ribs, maybe even all the way down into the kidneys and hips. You could even actively expand breath down into the pelvis. Again, noticing the sensations that accompany breath, fabric moving against your skin. And of course, breath will be moving into the front body also, but see if you can just isolate your awareness for this moment into that back body, back lung space. Notice if the mind wanders, it will. Just call it back. And this would be a good time to add your ujjayi, that little throat contraction, creating that sounding breath with the mouth closed. Again, rising and settling. And now invite your attention to take in movement in front and back body, front and back lungs. You might even notice it registering in the side body, in the rib cage there. Is there more? Is there more? Can you find the pause, the gap between the turns of the breath, or the active parts of the breath? So a few more breaths here in stillness. If you need to switch your head position, of course, to protect the neck, please do. But a few more breaths of awareness, noticing the sensations, and particularly finding the pause. Really honoring the whispers between the active breath and then the non-breath. One more. Please take this meditative awareness, this tuned inness to yourself onto the activity that we'll be doing. So to not ditch this awareness and now worry about alignment so much or going deeper in a pose so much that we lose this most important part of our practice, being tuned into body and breath. When you are ready to come into movement with me, please bring the hands and arms into that prep for cobra. So I'm going to have my hands off of the mat initially, and I'm just going to pump my wings, taking my elbows in towards the ribs and out, and in and out. And I'm really waking up the muscles there around the lats, that core anchoring that's really protective of the shoulders and helps us do things from our core strength as well. Last time, squeeze. Now plant the hands, anchor the pelvic triangle, and we're going to breathe here, kind of blossoming into cobra and out. And I ask you to have your attention deeply on the extension, not the, quote, lifting. Inhaling, reach the crown of the head away from the pelvis, drawing the heart forward. Exhaling, descend. And you can relax the butt cheeks completely if you need to in between, then re-engage. Inhaling, lengthening. Exhale, returning. Maybe you never come up very high, that's fine. Or maybe you're ready to add pressure with the hands coming into your king cobra. Good, couple more, your version. release, turn the head to the side and relax the arms however you'd like. Inhale, exhale, sigh. Tenting fingertips in jet airplane, shoulder heads anchor down, forehead anchors, pelvis anchors. Inhale again, extending and just letting the up part happen if it does. There's no goal or contest of how high we get. What we're interested in is that wonderful expression of rooting and reaching in the body and the breath that governs it. If you would like to release hands off the floor, maybe even legs, and hold. And release, turn the head to the other side. And planting the hands, anchor the pelvis, press back to your child's pose. So taking the knees a little wide so there's lots of room for the butt to sink back in. And you might find a position where the arms are kind of relaxed by the head. Some people like them back by the legs. I find usually I experience less neck pressure if my arms are kind of by my ears and so on. Asking you to once again bring breath attention into front and back and even side of your torso. Filling those lungs. Invitation for an active arm position now, tenting the fingertips and walking, spider walking those fingers forward as you reach your tailbone back. And hopefully, if you've activated as much as you can, your arms are off the floor here. If you can't or this hurts, then obviously don't force it. Adjust until you experience no pain. We're looking for kind of muscular effort and intensity and never any joint discomfort. Deep, deep breath here. And what I notice if I breathe deeply in this position is a new expression of breath kind of into my upper back and outside of the ribs. And release. Lovely. I'm going to lift my head as I walk my hands over to the right for a nice side stretch. And this is wonderfully healthy for our shoulder joints as we're getting a release kind of through the connective tissue all in here and all the muscles going down into the lats and so on. Breathe. Allow the breath to massage you. When you're ready to switch, please lift the head so that the shoulders can move with ease as you bring your hands to the left. Is this side different? Remember, any organic adjustments and movements that you feel inspired to make are a wonderful addition to your practice. Never hesitate to add stuff, even if I'm not mentioning it, offering it, and so on. Good. And lifting the head, come on back. Tuck the tailbone, please, to now come on to your butt. We're going to do that reverse table crab stretch that I find to be really helpful for the shoulders. It's really important as you do this, again, to kind of make sure your wrists are okay. You could try it on fists. It's just not going to be the same, but it's not a long hold. Inhale, exhale, raise the hips, and then imagine you wanted to rotate your hands outward. You're not going to move them. You're just imagining and return. So I'm kind of imagining I'm rotating outward. Inhale, shoulder heads down. Exhale, activate up and rotate in your mind's eye. You should feel a good stretch coming up through the arm and shoulder. Good. We'll do one more if you feel up for it. You can always love up wrists in between. Marvelous. And release. We're going to come onto our back body briefly for a little bridge pose with leg extensions. We're doing some really good work today, and we want to make sure we're nice and stable in the pelvis. That's our foundation of our core, really. It's not those abdominal muscles that we always think about. So as you're ready, press up. Think about there being a block between your thighs, or imagine one there. Coming in and out. I also like to kind of add a downward power through the upper arm. The more you can slow your lowering, the better. Again, thinking about that block between. And holding on this next round, I'm going to let my hands settle on my hip bones to measure as I have leg extensions. Noticing any drop, any feeling of weakness. If this is too much, then you're going to just do a lift of one foot, remember, a hovering. And this pose is a great kind of measuring tool for us too of where our body is at. And if you're feeling a lot of intensity in this, feels a little like ouchy, then you're going to want to moderate your practice and maybe even consider doing, more of the Monday yoga basics this week or something like that, or just leave out the parts that don't work for you and go to something that does. All right, maybe bring knees to belly, a little side to side. And we're going to come on up to seated for a pose that we've not done together for a long time. And this is a posture that I use sometimes just on its own for good shoulder health, but I like to always use in a class where we're going to explore flip dog, which we are today. It's kind of a fun name, right? And this is a way to, again, check out what's in your shoulders so you know, should I do flip dog, but also to really help the right stuff get in gear. So I'm going to have my left hand planted, got my feet just kind of flat and strong. I want to make sure that when I go up from here, that again, I'm imagining that block or something between so that my weight isn't shifting to the outer foot. That's really important. Shoulder head anchored. So I should already be feeling like a shoulder blade sandwich on that left side. And when I'm ready, inhale and press the hips up, reaching, pushing with that left hand. Make sure that shoulder head's anchored. Exhale, return. Good, again. One more. Hold if you can. Invitation to reach beyond your head with that right arm. And slowly down. So again, this is a great chance to notice what happened in there. What did that feel like? Giving you a lot of shoulder expressions today, some more gentle, and then these more active. Shoulder head of that right anchors down, right hand planted, and when you're ready, inhale, press up. Exhale, release. Make sure to reactivate that anchor every time. And it helps to think that you're reaching up with that left arm and the hips so that this isn't having to do so much work. It shouldn't be the responsibility of that right arm. One more time, boom. Everything wants to go up and then hold and see if reaching overhead feels good. You can also turn your face down towards the floor. And release. Marvelous. All right, we're going to come forward onto hands and knees, preparing for our downward facing dog. First downward facing dog of the day for most of us. Inhale, let's draw our heart forward in cow pose. And then exhale into cat to make sure that core is what's going to take you there. Feel free to do a few rounds whenever you're ready. Again, it shouldn't be the work of the arms and shoulders to send us there. It should be that core body. I really want to feel that low robot belly. We didn't do those today. Hopefully you just do them on your own every day. Send those hips up and back. Good. Bend the knees initially. And this is such a great chance to really give freedom to the shoulders. So I'm going to ask you to kind of slide a little forward and then a little bit back. And each time you come back is a chance to notice how it's feeling. Can you liberate the head? And now that you've got hopefully nice integrity in the upper body, shoulder heads rotated open, get that sternum breastbone area engaged. Lovely. Let's test it out. If I take that right leg slowly flying, do I feel any instability or pain? Or am I compensating? Take that left leg flying, same question. Beautiful. And let's release. Good. Let's lift up those hands a moment, those wrists. In the long run, yoga does great things for our wrists and forearms and so on, really creates a lot of joint stability and safety. But we've got to kind of honor as we're working up to that. All right, we're going to come into downward facing dog again. If this isn't feeling right, then table would be your alternate, and you could simply be doing alternate limb extensions. Otherwise, when you're ready, please rejoin me in dog. See if you can get even more core activity, boom, to take you there. It's like I'm doing a compression exhale. And with that new power in the core, see if you can press your heels towards the floor. Doesn't matter if they ever get there or if those legs ever get straight. I never want to give up my upper body in order to accommodate the legs. So as much as you can make kind of an A-line shape with the body, great. Let's send that right leg flying. Now pause. And again, if you're doing table, you can just doing leg extensions only or opposite arm. I'm gonna bend that right knee and I just want to open that right hip up. Good, now check your floor foot that it's not rotating. It should stay stable. And I'm kind of squeezing my left glute to the right, like we do when we're in Warrior Two. Very similar. Good, exhale. Slowly come on to neutral and bring that right foot forward into a lunge. Now, if this feels awkward, you can walk your foot to the right. You can also use a block. Otherwise, I'm going to invite you, inhale, lengthen your spine. Exhale, rotate. You're ringing the rag. Give it room. And again, I don't want any compensation. My body is long. I'm not winging my hips to the right or left. And then see if it feels appropriate to raise that right arm. You can also keep the vision on the floor. Good. Then just see if it would feel okay to bring that hand around in a partial bind. Taking one more full breath here. Big inhale, give it room. You can see I'm bringing my chest a little more towards the floor. Exhale, rotating open. Good. Slowly unwind and step back. Downward facing dog. Good. Opportunity to hold dog, maybe sighing breaths, go to child's pose, or to come into dog series with me. Inhaling to your plank, inviting knees down for this first one. Check that you're really nicely in the full palm, not the wrist. Exhaling, chaturanga, bend those elbows. Maybe it's just an inch. Maybe you can hold even. And drop for cobra, or you can go right to your upward dog. I'll be displaying that later. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, no wings, no shrugs. Downward facing dog. Vision between the feet. Inhale, exhale, sigh. I'm a little stuffy from allergies, so you'll hear me doing some inhaling through the mouth. You can always do the same, but keep it through the nose as often as you can. Left leg flying. As you do that, again, notice if you can keep your floor foot working towards the floor. I'm going to bend my left knee. As I rotate open through that left hip, again, I want that right foot staying completely stable. Good. I can also make sure that my arms are straight, that my chest is pressing open. Good. And exhale, neutral it, round the belly like you would for cat back. Get that foot forward. Good. Find your length, by the way. The further you can get the feet apart, the better experience you're going to have. But you never want that foot forward of the knee and vice versa. Good. If you want to adjust that foot outward again, you can do so. Shoulder heads anchor. Don't let this one shrug. And exhaling, rotate. Good. Ringing the rag. And as you can see, I always like to keep that left hand on the thigh first, so that I'm not trying to reach open from my arm, having done nothing with my torso. I see people do that all the time. It's like we get focused on the arm and we forget where the opening comes from. It should come from that back foot pressing back and then us ringing the rag of our torso. Opportunity to add a little bind, partial bind. One hand down behind the back. One more breath. Slowly unwind. Try to lift the foot rather than drag it. What I call reduce the swoosh. It just takes more core. Inhale, exhale, sigh. Get those shoulder heads anchored, core supported. Inhaling to your plank, knees or feet. Exhaling, chaturanga. Remember, you can kind of lift the hips a little bit so the chest precedes, almost like you could kiss the earth before anything else gets there. And downward facing dog. invitation to come directly into pigeon. So I'm just going to sweep that right knee forward. And if that doesn't feel appropriate, you'll go to your back body for our alternate or reclined pigeon. Coming again deep into breath awareness, front and back of the lungs. Life is different when we truly breathe fully. Our whole nervous system is calmer and cooler. Life is sweeter. A more present moment to drink it in. If you can feel a lot of just stored up energy here, you might try a nice breath release, a big and emptying through the mouth. If you'd like a little more intensity, you could use that back foot to pull the hips a little further back. This is a great pose to notice where we tend to contract around intensity. And obviously here, if you can't release or soften, it's because something's protecting. And so you shouldn't force it. That's your message that you're going past the edge. But this is a great place to seduce ourselves, to breathe around stress or intensity. When you're ready to come out, inhale, waking pigeon, drawing that heart forward. And exhaling, shoulder heads anchored. Always, we want to be in our strong shoulders and core. And I'm just going to come to my left knee to release that right leg. You could also go to dog with leg flying. Again, we're going to be doing a bit of that, so don't want you to overdo it. As you're ready, come into pigeon on your left side. And ideally, we've got our hip bones facing towards the floor, but of course, you'll remember that you could always rock out onto one hip or whatever works in your body. Ideally, the head is supported. Tune in here. What's in this hip? The energy of hips, there's a lot that is around some of our most basic needs of safety and well-being. And if it feels appropriate, you might do a big breath release or a lion stretch. Big inhale, exhale, open through the jaw. Oh, that feels good. You can even stick out the tongue. You can also draw the tongue back kind of down the throat like you're trying to let someone see your tonsils. Again, notice if you need to or can deepen the pose using that back foot. And use your breath to say hello to areas of intensity. When you are ready, never let me rush you. Remember, you can always just join back in when you're ready. Inhaling to waking pigeon, drawing the heart forward. And exhaling, table or dog, and love up that left leg. Inhaling, cow pose. Exhaling, cat to your downward facing dog. Again, your challenge is how slow and powerful can you go with the core. Inhale, exhale, sigh. We know that sighing breaths calm the amygdala, the alarm center of the brain. All right, we're going to walk the hands slowly back to the feet, and I want to invite you to do this in a very intentional way. We're not just trying to get back there. Each moment is a pose. So bring one hand back about a hand length, and push, and you should get a good stretch through the other shoulder and activity, and then the other one and push. So I'm using my hands one at a time to kind of almost press into some version of a downward dog to get that powerful extension through the shoulder joint. And here in your ragdoll, you might sway a little. When you're ready to rise, drop the butt. Inhale, root and rise, big butt squeeze. And exhaling, prayer hands. Good. We're going to step sideways on the mat into our 5-pointed star. Good. Hold a moment with me, please, and feel a deep sense of rooting and reaching. And then inside of that activity, also kind of a calm. You know, the whole warrior series, which we're going to be doing in a moment, is very much, it's the spiritual warrior. So it's about being able to be firm in one's foundation and truth, and also to be able to then move through the world and with others in a way that is sort of flexible, receptive, not hard hitting. So in other words, can we speak our truth? Can we say to someone, you know what, I don't agree with you? Or, hey, stop right there, right? Whatever it is we need to say without being like, ugh. So I want you to see if you can feel in this pose this deep sense of like readiness, knowingness, power, rootingness that would allow you to respond quickly, either verbally or physically if you needed to. It's amazing how hard it can be in the moment, like to just say to somebody like, hey, I don't think that's true, or wow, that kind of offended me. I feel like I've been practicing some of that my whole life, and yoga has really, really helped me in that journey, and I'm still working on it. So feel that. Good. One more long inhale when you're ready, sweeping the arms up, up, up. Maybe coming together and adding a little heart lift, back bend. Exhaling and releasing. Good. We're going to step into our mountain stance to start warrior flow. You're welcome, of course, to do more dog and come from downward dog, right leg flying. Otherwise, like I said, I don't want you to overdo your wrists and shoulders. We're in mountain pose here, which is the ultimate standing pose, again, of feeling that dichotomy of power, root, and rise, and then also a peacefulness, light connection with the tip of the tongue, soft gaze. Check that you can make a nice weeble wobble with your neck. And then please bend the knees and push the earth away. And all that power is coming from the center body, none of it from shoulders or neck or tongue. Lifting the left knee, standing crane. Big inhale. Slowly as you can, exhale back to crescent lunge. Make it a wonderful balancing experience. Pause, deepen your lunge, orient those hip bones, and then express yourself through the arms. Might be jet airplane, or out, or up, or staying in prayer hands. You also might be craving yoga mudra. That can feel really good. Again, another wonderful shoulder stretch here. If you try that, try the non-dominant hand clasp, so making the opposite thumb end up on top. Breathing, saying hello to some intensity in those thighs. One more long inhale. If you'd like to add a back bend, this is a good time. Reaching up through the heart and the chin. Exhale, neutral the spine before orienting into warrior two. Good. And please check it out. In your pulsing of the hips, what's that right distance of the heels? Again, the longer, broader our stance, the more stable. And so here we should feel very neutral through the spine. Again, allows us to feel strong but also peaceful versus if we're already reaching, we're kind of, ugh. We might add platter hands, our offering palm at the right. Offering perhaps the gifts of our spiritual warrior up out to folks who could use it right now. On your long inhale, reverse your exalted warrior. So you might keep the knee bent or you might straighten it. I often will take my vision down to the mat for neck protection. But as with the twist that we did earlier, let the breath move you. Let it take up room and let it give you room to deepen. As if you're kind of painting the ceiling. One more. And exhaling, flowing forward into your lateral stretch. Elbow to thigh, shoulder, head anchors. And so here's an opportunity to make your way towards the floor with that right hand. Or as in Monday's practice, I showed how to use a block, and that's also an option. The key here is that in doing that, my butt isn't going out behind. So check that your pelvis is rotating open towards that left edge of the mat. So the body's really feeling like it's between two panes of glass before I even think about extending that left arm. I could also play with bringing it into that same partial bind. like a little more depth, see if you can lower that right shoulder without the butt coming way out behind. See if there's room to lower that right shoulder. Bring your right hand behind the heels, kind of towards that right edge of the mat. And then see if you can rotate open again. So it's going to give you a different stretch. Some of you might be able to go deeper and actually touch the hands behind. Give it a try. If it bothers the shoulder, don't do it. If you do get them clasped, then you're trying to straighten them down behind your back, yoga mudra, right? And I can only do it actually when I'm at my most limber, but it's kind of fun to just even see if you can get your hands to touch back there. All right, slowly release. Come onto the ball of that back foot and reduce the swoosh, step back. Opportunity to rest. Otherwise, I'm going to bring us to our belly before we do our flow on the other side. So you can do a little plank to chaturanga. Good, and we're going to reach back for the ankles, pre-bow pose. So remember, you could also do a standing quad stretch. Pelvis is anchored, shoulder head's anchored. And when you're ready, inhaling, draw the heart forward and press the ankles back. Yoga toes. Keep thinking about the imaginary block between the thighs. Breath into front and back body. But of course, in this shape, it mostly expresses in the front. And release. Inhale, exhale, press back, downward facing dog. Inhale, exhale, sigh. And slowly walking the hands back again. Push, 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 and ragdoll. Inhale, root and rise. Exhale, prayer hands, resolve. This is a wonderful moment to tune in again to breath. Front body, back body. Noticing its texture, its temperature. And we'll return to the front of the mat for mountain. Unless you're doing warrior series from downward dog, in which case it's left leg flying. Those of us in mountain, gonna push the earth away, again, a little athletic push, and we'll lift that right knee. Big inhale. Front and back body, exhale. Slow extension back, crescent lunge. Pause, steer those hip bones, right hip bone forward, left back. You should feel pretty buoyant. And again, find your arm position, jet airplane or out. You might be having one up and one down. Yoga mudra, prayer. Really make sure you're using that back thigh. I always check mine, and just now I noticed, yep, my knee was a little bent, and this muscle wasn't working to create stability the way I want it to. That's what makes you able to hold your ground, right? So if someone were to come and push me in this position, they'd have a hard time knocking me over. If this leg is bent and I'm kind of like this, I got nothing. I'm like tent poles that haven't clicked in. Enjoy one more long inhale, maybe with a deep back bend. So I'm actually reaching my heart forward away from that back heel. Exhaling, open Virabhadrasana 2. Perhaps platter hands, that left hand, our receiving hand, receiving gifts and support and inspiration. Explore, again, pulsing, make sure to deepen the lunge if you need to or can. Soft tongue, lightly connected. And so the more that we feel intensity, whether it's heart rate or thighs wiggling, the more likely we are to furrow our eyebrows or shorten our breath or squish our tongue against the roof of the mouth. And this is where we embody the yoga practice, the wholeness that is this practice, where there's no striving. We are present. We're not running away from intensity. Neither are we forcing, shutting down, enduring. So of course, if you need to pause or take a break to be in integrity, you always do that. Inhaling either reversed or exalted warrior, again, straight or bent leg as you choose. And enjoying the breath flow. The inhale should bring you a little more upright or neutral. And the exhale gives you room to sort of paint along the ceiling. I should not be collapsing through this right rib cage. The ribs are pressing forward. So it's a nice curve that's being created from the power of that back leg all the way up through that front arm and rib cage. And slowly forward, lateral stretch. So again, very key is to notice right away if the pelvis is out behind, and to, in fact, think about externally rotating those thighs. So that we're nicely flat. And then exploring if that left hand comes down towards the floor, does that allow me to still maintain integrity? Do I need to get a block? Do I need to come back up to my elbow? What's appropriate? Sometimes you'll feel like an impingement here, say in your left hip, and that might be a reason that you don't want to come further up. Otherwise, invitation to play with that top arm. Take it into a partial bind a moment. Take a deep breath there. And then invitation to see if you can lower your shoulder closer to the floor, your left shoulder. Bring that hand behind so my fingertips are tended towards the left edge of the mat. Then I'm going to reopen through that right arm. Keep sending the hips to the right. And then see if you can add a partial bind. And if you want to see if you can feel that other hand back there. I can connect to it today, but I can tell that I won't have the fluidity to pull down without my shoulder being very unhappy that I did so. So please honor yours. And when you're ready, hiya, release. Inhale, exhale, sigh. Get that full extension of the arms here. Feels so good. And one last opportunity here for a full dog series if you'd like. Inhaling plank. Actually, I think there'll be one more. Exhaling chaturanga. Hiya. You should be feeling so much more strong, stable, and alive in the core of the shoulders. Upward dog, downward dog. Marvelous. And in fact, to check that, come onto your butt again if you would, please. We're going to do that same pose that is our prep for flip dog. And then we'll do a little rest before we come into a flow that integrates flip dog. So again, I've got my feet flat, shoulder heads anchored, and when you're ready, you're going to inhale. Oops, excuse me, I want my fingers facing back for this one. There you go. Inhale, press the hips up. Good. See how that feels. A couple more. And this is our chance to see if that shoulder has any needs or concerns, and to notice, of course, if there's a difference between the two sides. So now right hand plants, fingers back, shoulder head anchors. Inhale, push up. Exhale, return. Marvelous. So an invitation for resting. A couple of options. One would be to grab your block if you've got it handy. No, this is not Shavasana, not quite yet, but this might feel really, really good right now. You could also use a little rolled up blanket or whatever. So I'm going to place it between, underneath the shoulder blades, south of the shoulder blades, I should say, not like so that your shoulder blades aren't on it. And then reclining over it. And this can give a lovely kind of support and ease through the whole shoulder blade and mid-back. And then if we want to add just a little bit of love for the shoulders, we can raise one arm up to the sky and then overhead. Excuse me, you can move the arm so that it's coming kind of towards the ear and away. And then let's explore the other side. All movements are slow, curious, loving, and breath-filled. When you do come off the block, please roll the head to one side or the other so that you're not raising the head vigorously off the floor, ever, ever, ever. All right, I'm going to grab a little sip here. I brewed some nettle tea, really good anti-inflammatory. If you're wondering what that funky color is, but I encourage you also to have a little hydration. So we're going to be doing a series that's kind of a combo of dog and warrior. And again, you can completely skip flip dog. You could do dog with leg flying, but then not do the flip. You'll get it when I'm talking about it. And then you can join us for the warrior. You could also just do another round of warrior series from standing crane. If you're like, you know what, my wrists, no thanks, or my shoulders, just go ahead and do some warrior while I'm kind of yakking away here, reminding you to breathe and feel your body, okay? I'm going to start us at the front of the mat in mountain. And let's once again find mountain, whether it's in jet airplane arms or hands in prayer. Just asking you to center and tune into your breath. Feel a deep kind of strength and awareness in the body, but where nothing is striving. So I'm rooting and reaching, but nothing's clenching. Softness in the tongue, the gaze. Feeling breath in front and back body. A few more rounds, just tuning in. When you feel ready to let breath move you on a long inhale, root and rise. Is there more? Exhaling, fold. Compression, empty, empty, empty. Inhale, extend halfway. Is there more? Exhale, step or jump back, downward facing dog. Inhale, exhale, dig in. Nice strong dog. When you're ready, slowly take that right leg flying. Pause. You're doing this whole thing slowly enough to make sure that you're not, bending your elbow or doing something funny. Bend that right knee. Rotate open through the right leg. Now keep pushing with that left arm. And then think about sending your chest a little towards the back of the mat and the right, kind of right back, I guess. And that should feel really strong and open. Keep lifting that right knee. Keep checking your left elbow. Both arms are working. And when you're ready, if you'd like, you're going to join us in flipping like so. You're going to let your right leg go as far as it can without turning your floor foot. And then when you're ready, you decide to go, and you're going to land on the floor in that position that we were practicing earlier with your arms straight up. Maybe you want to take it overhead. When you're ready to return, you can just come to your butt and return to your hands, or you can kind of flip and rotate on that left foot back into your downward facing dog, right? Let's try that on the other side. Take that left leg up, pause, bend the knee, rotate open through that left hip. Keep pushing through both arms. This is important. Then sending that chest back into the left. Taking your leg as far left as it'll go without turning your floor foot. And then when you're ready, you do turn the floor foot. You rotate, boom, and you've found your position. Some version of it. And when you're ready, you can come on back again. You can just kind of come back to your butt like that and roll over. That's definitely less risky on the shoulder and stuff as you're trying to coordinate how this all works, all right? Join me in downward facing dog. All right. So you got the idea on that. Actually, let's take a little rest. Child's pose. Roll out the wrists, breathe. Notice how that felt in your body, how your shoulders felt. It's a little weird, of course, trying to figure out a pose. So maybe even watched me in that first round. Great. We're going to do flip dog again. And when we come back from our flip, we're going to make our way into crescent lunge and a warrior flow. Okay, so that may not be the smoothest transition. It doesn't have to be, but that's part of the fun of flow, is trying to make the transitions smoother, trying to get them more breath filled, more fluid, more fun. But again, in the beginning, there's the learning curve of where we're trying to direct our body to next. but also accommodating the body. So I've had plenty of body accommodations that I've needed to make, wrists, shoulders, and so on. And sometimes you just have to stop, move to the next thing, and that's all good too, all right, as long as you're breathing. So if that was enough flip dog for you, again, you might just watch this one or just hold dog with leg flying or table with leg extended and then join us in the warriors. Otherwise, when you're ready, nice strong core, coming into your downward facing dog. Pause, make sure you really feel solid, stable, supported, and elongated through the shoulders. The shoulder heads are anchored down the back, but I then want to from there push. And send that right leg flying. Pause, notice, bend the right knee, rotate open, check that left arm, keep anchoring. When you're ready, let that floor foot rotate, flip, big inhale, exhale, flip back, and see if you can bring that foot directly forward into your crescent lunge. Ain't this fun? When you are ready, nice strong core, come on up. No long holds this time, I promise. Big inhale. Exhale, transition. Virabhadrasana 2. Spiritual warrior. Centered, strong, peaceful. Om Shanti Shanti. Om peace, peace. Inhale, reversed or exalted warrior. Just one long inhale. That's it. Exhale, flowing forward to your lateral stretch. We don't really have time for a bind. You could go into triangle instead if that was where your body needed to go today. Inhale, unwind, pause with the hands on the floor, move your foot to the right, your right foot, and briefly explore that twist that we were in earlier. Rotating open through that right arm. And releasing, step back, downward facing dog. This is your place to rest a moment. You can also go to child's pose. Big inhale, exhale, sigh. As you're ready, left leg flying. Feel that heartbeat. Breathe slow, deep, and wide best you can. Smile a little. Rotate that left hip open. Check that right arm. Check that right heel. Work it towards the floor. Don't let that foot rotate until you decide, I've got my vision on my floor foot, and then I decide, I flip, and I take my vision to the sky. Boom. Big inhale here, and I'm gonna rotate back and try and bring that left foot directly into crescent lunge. Steer those hip bones, inhaling up. Exhaling, transition, Virabhadrasana 2. Inhale, reversed or exalted warrior. Exhaling, lateral stretch or working into triangle, which also will allow us that lateral stretch if we want to bring the arm overhead especially. Make sure you come back up before rotating down to the floor with the hands for that twist. Work that left foot a little out to the edge of the mat if that would feel good in your body. Make sure shoulders are anchored. And release. Inhale, exhale, reduce the swoosh, downward facing dog. And this is your last chance for dog series. Powerful core support. Inhaling slow, deep, and wide. Plank. Is there more? Exhaling, chaturanga. Slow as you can go. Either to the floor for cobra, inhaling, or upward dog. Exhaling, child's pose, or if you're craving it, downward dog. Inhale, exhale, sigh, and settle. So notice what your thoughts are like. If any of your thoughts are, I think of them as evaluative, kind of perfectionistic, like, oh, I don't know if I did that right. Please let it go, I beg of you. At this point, ideally we would be a non-thought, but if anything, it would be in appreciative thought of our body and all the different things that it allows for us. One last just little stretch that I want to teach you that could be fun for you to play with too. And I've noticed, as with many other stretches like this, if you find it's useful and you say did it again day after tomorrow and kind of maybe a couple times in the next week or so, it can really create a lot of shift. So this is also a neat way to know what's going on and how your shoulders are different. It's facing cow pose or cow facing pose. I can't remember. So it's such an odd name anyway. But you want a strap or something non-stretchy, and you're gonna just have yourself in a nice solid stance and take it over your right shoulder. And first just encourage that right elbow to get as high up as it can and towards the ear. So that's the alignment we're looking for. And then that other arm is gonna kind of pulse. We're pretty warm, so we don't need as much of that. And then I'm gonna try and keep my elbow as in towards the body as I can, as I scooch my hand up that strap. And I just want to pause here and breathe and notice. And I'm kind of continuing to try and work that top shoulder back and in. And you breathe, and when you feel ready to release it, slowly through that lower arm, and usually doing kind of some counter movements. And then we'll take the strap over the other shoulder, pumping that arm up and working that other arm back. And so this is a lot like a partial bind, similar positioning, right? And as I scooch that hand up, I'm curious, is it different from the other side, and so on. My side's always different. This side, I never get my hands to touch. The other way, often the hands will, and sometimes I can clasp without the strap. So again, it's a great educational tool. And notice, please, where you're feeling the stretch. Some of us will feel it in like the bicep and bicep tendon of the hand that's back. Some of us will feel it really strongly in the tricep of the arm that's up, and I can feel the difference in mine from side to side. So again, give yourself any little organic movements after that, if you would, please. And then we're going to come to our cooling breath. And so if you want to be seated or standing, that'd be best. It's not really easy to do laying down because we're doing a head movement with it, but you could easily just be seated if you wanted to on a ottoman or a kitchen chair or anything else. You don't have to come to your bolster if you don't have one. Please get comfortable, and again, have near you anything you need to be comfortable for a few minutes of Shavasana at the end, so maybe a covering layer or what have you. Find the sits bones rise through the crown so that all the front and back lung space are supported, open, receptive. Close the eyes, turning them up and in towards that third eye. Voice of insight, intuition. And when you're ready, join me creating the cooling breath. And there's just two very simple things. On the inhale, I'm going to curl my tongue like a little straw and lift my chin. And on the exhale, I'm going to lower my chin with my lips slightly parted. Asking, is there more? Inhaling, tongue curls, chin lifts. Chin lowers, lips slightly parted. Please continue deep awareness of the breath, of all the sensations. Do you feel the coolness on the tongue? If you feel that you've got a lot of body heat, you might invite that to circulate and move out with the exhale. Also, if you have an excess of mental or emotional heat. So anger, for example, if we haven't found a way to move it, I think wrestling is great, lion stretch, pushing heavy things. Frustration is best when we move it through our body versus stagnating it. But if we felt kind of of riled up and not very restful lately, the cooling breath might be a nice way to intentionally calm those areas of us. Continuing your attention deep inside, looking up at that third eye point, seeing the breath moving along the tongue, coming in and out of your lungs. You are welcome to simply continue this breath practice. It can be done for many, many minutes, and it can be quite effective that way. You could also let it go and allow yourself to settle now into a seated meditation. This would also be a good opportunity to settle into your Shavasana. Might be a classic corpse pose. Or if you have a yoga mat you want to recline over along the spine, or a bolster up upon a block like so, really provides a wonderful place to settle and have that heart space open. softening gravity, cool place for mind, spirit. You might choose to really drift off into a long yogic sleep. If you are ready to close the practice with me and would like to join in Oms, inviting you to do so. Otherwise, you can simply let them, the vibration, carry you and support you. Often when I'm doing the 3 Oms, I add an intention that I am, on the first Om, sending the healing vibrations of the practice deep down into my body, into the cells, particularly if there's any part of me that's been in challenge, picturing that part being nourished. Basically, you're directing life force to where you need it most, almost as if you could touch it with your hand, but sometimes it's an internal part of our body or being. And then on the second Om, I'm often offering it up to an individual for whom I've got concern, someone I know to be in need, who could use the gifts of yoga. And then on the third, offering it up to a larger community group, perhaps worldwide, the whole planet, whatever calls to you. If you'd care to join me in Oms, please do. You might have your hands on your body to be able to better feel that experience. Gathering a long inhale. Om Shanti Shanti. Om Peace Peace. Namaste.